much. Well, the Australian dream is becoming a nightmare under this government, and it is very curious that the government now all of a sudden want to come on into this chamber and talk about housing, and they are desperate that we pass this Help to Buy bill. But this Help to Buy bill was announced over 800 days ago. So Labor has had 2.5 years of government, and they haven't bothered to bring this on for a vote. It can't be terribly important. So, as I say, the Australian dream is becoming a nightmare under this government, but this is a continuation of Australia's history.
Point of order, Senator Urquhart.
I'm just conscious that my understanding was that we took note of all questions, which was cost of living and CFMEU. Senator Bragg is taking note on housing.
Actually, the motion was
didn't ask any on housing.
All answers to all questions. Actually,
no, it was.
No. I listened carefully. It may have been done without. Excuse me. It may have been done without intention.
Okay.
But the actual motion that was moved was all answers to all questions. So,
my understanding it was from government senators, but I'm happy to be.
No. It was. I listened carefully,
okay.
And I'm not sure it was necessarily intended, but that's what the motion that was moved. Anyway, Senator Bragg, give the call.
The government is so sensitive and so embarrassed about its terrible failure on housing that it seeks to obstruct debate. I mean, the reality is that after 2.5 years, Labor has failed on the supply side and the demand side. The Australian dream is slipping away from younger people, which is why under 40s are going crazy about this government's failure to build houses, but also help younger people get into their first home. Now, the reality is that there are fewer homes being built under this government than there were under the last government, and there are fewer first home buyers getting into those fewer houses that are being constructed. So, after failing to legislate their key demand-side policy for over 800 days, they now want to come in here and ask us to vote on it. Maybe it's because the election is approaching and they are too embarrassed that next time they have a campaign launch, they'll be launching the same policy. Over the last 2.5 years, the government have had a handful of policies on housing. Now, one of them is what I call their corporate housing policy, which Senator Gallagher loves, which is where the super funds and the foreign fund managers are given tax cuts and incentives to build, construct and own houses and then rent them out to Australians like their serfs. This is part of their Rent Forever plan, which is now underwritten in the budget in perpetuity. But what you never hear the government talk about is lending policy, banking policy, how we can help people get a mortgage, a first mortgage. The government never talk about that, never, even while banking policy is within the preserve of the Commonwealth Government. Another thing you never hear them talk about is super, other than how they can help the funds own all their houses and become landlords. They never talk about people's lived reality, which is we're living in an age and stage where, because of a compulsory super, a large group of people now have super as their biggest pool of capital. So unless you have the access to the bank of mum and dad, which is now the 6th biggest lender, this is your best chance of getting into a house. And the key determinant of your success in retirement is not your superannuation balance, it is your home ownership status. And that is why we make no apology for allowing people to use their own money, unlike Labor, who see people using their own money as raiding. So it is a bizarre world they're living in.
I put the question. Those of the question say aye, against no. The ayes have it.